What's up, guys? Welcome to another special interview on Critical Points. Today we have Eddie from Third Sense Gaming. Say what's up.
Hey, what's that, man? Appreciate you bringing me on. It's pretty fun, to be interviewed, and I'm really looking forward to these questions.
Right on, man. So tell us about your organization. How'd you start it? Where'd you come from, and what are you looking forward to do in the future?
All right, so yeah, where I personally come from, I've been in the industry for around, I would say, 5 to 6 years now. I started playing Call of Duty. I played in the amateur scene. I was able to go professional at one point, but due to just some issues with internet connection or just being too young for certain teams, and they implemented the rule of 18 and over now. I wasn't able to, but I've been in the scene as a competitor since I was around 15, 14. Um, as I got older, I started realizing that competing was fun, right? But at the same time, I always saw a lack of professionalism when it came to like the management and organizations. And ever since then, I decided to, instead of competing, why not be able to provide organization or just provide the services from the management side of things, provide better stuff for the players.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when I decided to stick with management and the whole background of organizations.
Hmm.
But more recently, now I work with eSportspedia. They're a competitive wiki site where we pretty much gather data and information from teams, and we provide wikis to where people can go and use that information for their own purposes. And we do Twitter, tweet outs for when there's special events, tournaments, live tweeting. That's what we do there, and really enjoy my job there.
Oh, that's
When
really
it comes
cool.
to when it comes to Third Sense, so I've always had the idea of actually wanting to develop organization and have an organization, right, to be able to provide for the players. When I was younger, I tried it, but it really didn't work out. For a reason, for many different reasons. Now that I got older, I realize that I'm able to, thanks to my job, I'm able to connect with people that have major reaches in the industry. With eSportspedia, I have contacts with Esports One, which is
Wow.
a new company that's going to be coming up pretty soon. They should be announcing very, very soon, and it's a great company. So I have reached with a lot of people, and the Esports One has provided that where I work now. And with that being said, Third Sense kind of came about, working there. I brought up the idea to a couple of my work coworkers, and they really just, I guess, liked the idea, liked the branding behind what I wanted to do. I liked my whole philosophy with what I wanted to do, and we kind of went from there. It really, was based around just having a good idea, making sure that we have the right things in place when it comes to mindset wise and the way we want to do things. And the management that I have, thankfully, are guys that really think just like I do, and ever since then, we've just kind of been building this, and it gets bigger and bigger every week, and it's pretty insane. Honestly, despite of the connections that we have, we never really thought it would be growing at this pace. And yeah, when it comes to what we want to do in the industry, it just goes back to just making sure that the players are treated right. Personally, I was part of organizations when I was younger. I would work for them, and I would see a lot of the neglect that would be placed on these organizations would put on the players, on the streamers, and it was very, very saddening, right, to be a
Hmm.
part of something where people, just ordinary people, are kind of brought down due to just the selfishness of team owners or stuff like that.
Hmm.
And that's what we're looking to kind of put a stop to.
Yeah.
It's been getting better. I'm really into League of Legends, so I really follow a lot of the teams there. So I think League of Legends and a lot of other like major organizations are really pushing for that now.
Yeah.
Player welfare is something that we really value at Third Sense,
That's good. I
and
mean,
that's what we want to
as
promote for the future.
as a owner of a small and an up and coming organization, I pride myself in talking to the team members daily. Get to know them like it's a family instead of just the guy who sits behind a table and desk and it just sits at the top. That's really good to hear coming from someone else who's running an org. From what I understand, a lot of owners are like that. They don't have any interest or investment in their team, like emotionally. So that's great to hear. I'm looking at your guys' Twitter right now. You guys have plenty of followers. What kind of teams do you guys have under your org?
As of now, we have one team and one player. Right now, we have the our Super Smash Bros. Wii U player. So we're really excited for him. He's going to be attending the tournament the 8th of this month. Really excited for him. Biddy, his name is. He's been in the scene for a while now. He's been a part of many, I said, bigger organizations like Mutiny. I believe at one point he was part of. I would say Mutiny is probably one of the more bigger ones. I'm not quite sure exactly his history, but he's been around in the scene for a while now. He's a really good Toon Link main player. Really happy to have him. When it comes to the team that we have right now is CS:GO team, main team. Those guys, it's just like anything else, right? You need to build yourself up with teams. You can't just right out the gate expect to have an amazing team. Sometimes that's the case. Unfortunately, for due to lack of capital or due to just other differences with the teams, and we've kind of opted out of acquiring a really good team just because we want to get our feet wet first and see where we sit in CS:GO being such a big esport. Everybody can claim to be good, right? But it's more or less the good teams require a lot of capital and funding and a lot of attention, right? So we're just taking baby steps, and our CS:GO team, for the most part, they're all great individual players, but obviously it goes back down to just making sure that they're good as a team, right? That's, I think, the more important part.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to, we have an announcement that we haven't announced for another team that we're picking up, COPS team. Very excited to have them on. Obviously, we're going to do an announcement tomorrow, Thursday, the 6th. Very excited to have them on. Personally, I've heard of COPS a couple of times. I heard about Vainglory being one of the more major, mobile games. But COPS, my marketing manager actually brought it up, and we were like looking into this, and then we got into contact with these players that we're going to be bringing on, and really got to see what they're about, see like their personalities, understand what they're feeling, what they're not feeling, their experiences, and then that's something that we plan to really push for. Making sure that our COPS team does great. They will be attending. Season 3 tournaments, so that's really exciting for them.
They'll be playing in season 3 of Critical League.
Right.
Basically, COPS has been dubbed the CS:GO from the mobile platform, whether it's on Android and iOS. Actually, one of our good friends, Carson, is on your team. Is a really good kid, so I'm sure he's looking forward to this opportunity. So I hope they do really well. So it's a big thing to see other orgs coming into this community. Since we started our org based off of COPS, it's great to see other bigger orgs that started on other games coming in. What kind of plans and future do you have for not just like the COPS teams, but like just your org in general? I love the philosophy that you guys are trying to bring to the table, and I wish other orgs would follow.
Yeah, no, for when it comes to just how we want to develop down the line, it's more about, money, right? It goes back down to the money aspect. If we have the money, we're able to provide more for the players. I say that very carefully because sometimes some owners unfortunately get too caught up in the money and in the numbers and neglect the whole, catering to the players, making sure they're okay. They neglect that aspect. But honestly, for us to provide more, more things to the players, to the teams, it goes back to how we do as an organization and how our teams could do, right? So for the future, we plan to raise capital through investments. I've spoken to many VCs and angel investors.
Angel investors, I was going to say that's a great thing.
Yeah, we reached out to a couple, and we, like I said, the benefit of us is that we know people in the industry that can give us that that reassurance or that investor might need, right? And that's kind of where we sit with that. Once you raise enough capital, there's many ways to do it. You can do it through just pure sponsors or partners. You can do it through investors. But right now we're just kind of making sure that we're structuring everything correctly, so when we actually go and pitch to these investors or to these sponsors, they know that we're the real deal, right? Just making sure that the timing is right, that we have something to show for what we're trying to get.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very important too. You mentioned not only the timing, but you mentioned you have the backing and the correct details to pitch. A lot of people don't realize when you pitch to sponsors and all that stuff, it's not just based on hopes and dreams. You really do have to have like a great proposal. You have to have championships or wins or showing like your improvement as an org overall. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. But luckily for you guys, it sounds like you have great connections in the industry. And eSportspedia is amazing. sounding. I'm definitely going to check that out. I can get lost in Wikipedia myself personally, so
Yeah.
I might be getting lost into eSportspedia. So
Yeah, no, yeah, they going back to what you said about, some teams don't understand that when they speak to sponsors or investors for that matter. Honestly, I guess if you're not well rounded with industry, you kind of think a lot of the younger owners that I've known and people that I've worked with, a lot of them think that, just because of your branding or just because of your idea, you'll get the money, right? And
hmm
unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's more about what investors only care of, and it depends, right? But for the most part, VCs or angel investors only really care of when they'll see their money back. It's not really
exactly.
about
When's their
if
ROI coming?
exactly, they don't really care if you have, a lot of people or something like that. It's more about what you can show, right, and what you can bring, to the table. They'll look at your marketing deck. Honestly, marketing decks is something that we really push here. We worked really hard on ours. And just things like that really matter. For some odd reason, younger people and just overall people that are newer to the scene tend to not understand,
Yeah.
and that might be just lack of knowledge. And that's, like I said, once I don't mean to praise eSportspedia, but thanks to me working there, I've been able to learn a lot more about the business aspect
Oh,
of how esports
absolutely.
actually works, and just overall, just understanding how to speak to an investor or a
hmm
sponsor
hmm
goes a long way.
Yeah, it's they don't realize that it's a lot of who you know and then what you know, not what you know then who you know. Like you have to know the
Exactly.
right people, but then once you know the right people, you have to know how to talk to them, approach them, and all that stuff. I mean, like especially like for investors and angel investors, like you said, they probably just want to know when they're going to get their return on their investment. So you have to
Yeah.
really show them like, oh yeah, well we have this marketing plan, we have streamers and content, we can raise this capital or raise this money based on our streamers, and then we also have merchandise that we sell. So they want to see the whole package, and
Exactly.
it's not just hey, check how big our community is, like you said. It's awesome to see someone else in the community that gets that because I'm sure the top teams in some of the top games, like obviously they started from somewhere, and now
Yeah.
they're obviously way bigger. I mean, I look at teams like SK and NIP, and I
Yeah.
watch them in CS 1.6 tournaments. So
Yeah.
that's when the tournaments were not on in stadiums and stuff. So they've obviously grown as well. So
No, yeah, I think it's fair to point out how like people only see the glamour nowadays, and sometimes it gets me upset when people kind of people that come into the industry are like, oh, I want to create this, I want to create that, and I'm like, they have really high expectations, and that's good to have high expectations, but you need to understand that in order to reach that, there's like levels to it, right? You can't just come in and expect to, unless you have a lot of money, right? Unless you're
true.
balling with money, you can just buy partnerships and all this random shit that you can do to put your name out there, promotions, all this stuff. But something that I realized why when I was trying to do this when I was younger, the reason why it didn't work was because I was really honestly just I wasn't knowledgeable enough to understand how things actually were supposed to be done, right? And that's what I told the guys, the players, the staff, the management. We don't know it all, and that's fine. But it's like that shouldn't limit us to when it comes to our growth, or that shouldn't limit us to how we want to portray ourselves, right? Even if we don't know it all, we know the people that probably can teach us what we need to do, or like support us and give us guidance. But at the same time, we can't just sit here and be like, well, I don't know this, so I'm just going to give up, or I don't know this, so I can't do it and just give up.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
this. I think that's one of the number one issues that I see with people that start organizations. I know people that have amazing branding, marketing wise, it's amazing, but due to just the lack of persistence and thinking that things are supposed to be done overnight, really affects them negatively.
Oh yeah,
And that's what
absolutely.
I yeah, so that's what I told my team. I'm like, hey guys, at the end of the day, like, you take every day, you know and you do the best you can do it every day. If you focus on just, we need to grow right away, we need to do this, we need to do that, like, that's all fine, but sometimes you trying to focus and do everything at once doesn't work, right? Because
hmm
everything has a time for it. And that's where we're really pushing and making sure that everybody knows that we're going to grow at our pace.
Yeah,
We're going to grow at our pace. We're going to not try to, just because we see other people doing other things that worked out for them, we're not going to try and like mimic that. We want to stick in our own lane, do what we think is the best for Third Sense and overall for the players in the
a-
community.
absolutely.
Um, And that's where, yeah, that's where we sit with that. And like I said, I'm honestly very grateful for the management that I have. A lot of the things that we learned off each other, and I think that's really important too. Just making sure that your management, your teams, everybody that's with you, you know, you can learn from each other. I think that's probably the most benefit that I have, and with my team is that everybody is willing to always go the extra mile to learn and help each other learn. And I think that's how you build a really really good organization, when there's people that are willing to help each other learn, and once they learn, they go with what they know and they push that.
Yeah, I find it hard to find people with similar ideologies to come together, and but when you find that, that could be a great foundation and great chemistry,
Yeah.
especially when, like you were mentioning, people that have great ideas, great marketing plans, and that their eyes are bigger than they can see, and then they get let down emotionally and mentally. That could turn them away from things. Whereas sounds like you've kept pushing, you learn from your experiences, and now you can only get better because you learn from those rather than just blaming other people.
Yeah, no, I tell people all the time, I'm like, mistakes happen, but if you're not willing to say, hey, you know what, I messed up or I made a mistake, at that point, that hurts everybody, right? So especially with, like people go through issues and problems and create mistakes, within the organization. But what I tell them is like, if you make a mistake, that's fine. Just don't commit it again, and make sure you learn from it. I think sometimes admitting you're wrong or admitting you did something bad is sometimes hard for some people. And I realize that if you're not the person that's willing to be honest with yourself, nobody will, and that will affect your growth and your knowledge overall. Because you'll think that you know it all. You'll think that, oh well, you're wrong because I worked here and I worked there. And at the end of the day, you have to be open minded with everything, and everybody thinks different. I think once you understand that, that allows you just to become a better person, but at the same time, that allows you to attract people that are willing to want to work with you and actually agree with the way you think as a leader, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's beautifully said.
Yeah, no, but honestly, we're excited with their sons. We're very excited. Obviously, this is going to be, you know, something that we're going to make sure we nurture. It's so easy to cut corners with things. It's so easy to just half-ass things. And that's what I tell the guys. I'm like, once we start half-assing, once we start cutting corners, at that point, it'll show.
Hmm.
It'll show on our Twitter. It'll show on our social media, on our Facebook. It'll show on our Instagram. It'll show on the way our teams play. If there's no structure, if there's no, I guess, ruling in place, if there's no culture there, then you'll see it. People see it. They're not dumb. You can tell.
Hmm.
And then that's what we really want to make sure that doesn't happen. And it just goes back down to just doing things at our own pace and staying in our own lane and not trying to run before we know how to walk, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially when you've developed your own niche and your own brand, people take notice of that stuff.
Yeah.
And as weird as it sounds, like these young kids, they follow every movement that's done in their org or like their favorite teams and stuff. And like
Yeah.
you said, they will take notice fast. And it's so weird how it happens. But it's just like that's also a great thing because that means the community, the esports community as itself, people care about it. It obviously shows that the demographic is very young. So I mean, they're very impressionable kids, and it's good that you guys all share the same mindset. You gotta walk before, learn to crawl before you walk. Sorry about that. And it's a great positive vibe. I'd like to see that. I wish there were other
Yeah.
owners out there like you.
No, I mean, honestly, it goes back down to just my experiences. I'm not gonna lie, if I didn't work with other organizations when I was younger, I probably wouldn't be the way I am today. I'm a firm believer that based on what you experience, and obviously this is just a fact, right? Your experience, it kind of portrays you. It shows who you are due to, the things you've seen and the things you've experienced. So honestly, if it wasn't for the organizations that I would work for, I wouldn't understand, what it really meant to be an owner, what it really means to be a good leader, and what it really means to just be a better person. I think in the industry,
Hmm.
there's so many people that consider themselves to be owners or CEOs or whatever, that really, unfortunately, don't know what they're doing. It's almost like they're just plain pretend.
Yeah.
And that's what I made sure, I was like, if I'm going to be a CEO or owner, whatever, I want to make sure that I either know the people, if somebody has a question, I know the people that they can ask, or I know it myself, right? I think, especially now, since it's becoming more businessy, the scene where you start to see more business people come in and you see that there's more structure. It's important to portray yourself as an owner and show that you're a professional.
Absolutely. At all times, especially as an
Yeah,
owner, you have to always be professional at all times. Because you just, A, don't know who you're going to run into, and
yeah,
B, you just never want to burn bridges.
exactly.
You have
Yeah,
to hold yourself to a higher standard, but not be like
yeah.
arrogant.
No, yeah, and I think that's what I'm not like. I'm not sure you're familiar with what's it called? Trevor Noah.
No, I'm not. Go ahead, tell me about it.
So he's actually a comedian, right? He's a late night show comedian, right? And honestly, like something that I've learned from him, and it sounds weird the way I'm going to relate it to esports, but whenever he does like a show, he makes it really clear that he's not standing on one side or the other, right? It's very 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 neutral, and I think especially as an owner. I realize that you need to be honest with yourself and be neutral in every situation. It's so easy to favor a player. It's so easy to favor a streamer or favor even a staff or management member.
Hmm.
So it's funny because I realize that if you try to just bring on your friends, if you just try to bring on people that are your buddies, quote unquote, that's cool and all. But at the same time, if you really want something to grow and develop, you need to make sure that the people you have are quality people.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're being honest with them as well as with yourself to make sure that these are the best people you can potentially bring on, right?
Because they
Um,
also have to realize too, there's the separation of business and friendship.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the major issues with younger, with newer esports organizations and just esports organizations that kind of have struggled. There's a couple out there that have kind of disbanded, and it goes back down to just not being professional enough. And this is what I tell just people in general in the industry. You act today how you'll be tomorrow, right? So,
Hmm.
so if we act professional today, that's going to show, and through our growth, they'll just know us as, oh yeah, we're a newer organization, but we mean business, right? We're
Hmm.
professional about everything. We're not here to just screw around and pretend we're the shit.
Yeah, there was. I'm not gonna name any names, but
Yeah,
as I look at the COPS community, they're definitely a younger community.
yeah.
And there was teams that have been formed and they've gone away. One of the teams actually put, they did. I guess it looks like they did like a Skype call or something, and they all screenshotted themselves flicking everyone off and posted that under their
Oh
team.
man.
And I was just like, I immediately was just like, no org is gonna want to pick you up if they ever see that. Like I just
Yeah,
thought of it differently. I thought of it. They probably their mindset was like, oh, we're saying screw you guys to the community, like our team's back kind of thing maybe. But in my head, I look at that as that's a bad look for any org that wants to pick you up. And in hindsight, they may regret that. So it's like
yeah. No, I
what you're
I
saying. What
agree,
you do
hundred
today is
percent.
what you're gonna do tomorrow. That just made me instantly think about that.
Oh, 100%. And with sometimes age is an issue, and the way we handle our COPS players, whenever we get in a call, we act just professional, right? Making sure that we set the tone, make sure that they know that we're not here to just screw around. We're actually, if we're talking to you, it's serious. It's something that we need everybody's attention, and nobody's over here just cursing or just doing things that they shouldn't be
Hmm.
doing, right? And that's something that we tell our players and our members overall, right? If you're part of our team, you're part of our organization, you're not to act that way, right? Because that's not how I act. That's not how my other management acts. So why should you?
Hmm. Yeah.
At that point, you're an issue. You're an issue for the organization because you're showing something that we're not.
Hmm. Yeah, because they don't think about it, but they're literally representing the face of your team.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I think that's just maturity levels, honestly, and just people that don't take it serious. And that's what I tell players all the time. I'm like, if you want to become a professional or you want to be treated like one, you have to act like one. If you don't, then you'll be treated like an amateur. You'll be treated like a kid. You'll be treated like somebody that isn't mature enough. And that's, I think, respect, right? It goes back down to just even respect. You need to make sure that in order to get respect, you have to earn it, and you have to show
Yeah.
that you're willing to respect somebody.
Yeah, well said, well said. To earn respect, you got to give respect.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it just it hurts me to say this, but I used to be in the Call of Duty community, and I left it for that reason. people have no respect for anybody really. Even some of the professional teams, unfortunately, don't even have the respect for the owners, right? And for just their overall just friends and teammates. I mean, endless times I've seen players talk shit to their own teammates, talk shit to other players, and talking shit isn't bad, but when it's so negative and it's like more personal, I think at that point it's just like, what are you doing? Like you're making yourself look terrible. Obviously, you probably don't care, but that makes your organization look like they don't know what they're doing and that they're just picking up people up for X reasons, right?
Yeah, and then negativity and positivity also spread. Like if you're from the top down, if the top down is rude, the bottom's going to be rude, and that's it goes to say the opposite. If someone like you, very positive, but also educated, will teach the people below, and so forth and so forth and so forth.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think that's probably the main thing with me. I like to make sure that the players know more about the business side. And every time, with any team that we have or any players, I like to get in a call with them, and we usually just get in a call and just talk for hours of just things that we know. Right, with Third Sense, we like to make sure that they build themselves up as an individual first, and become a better person. Also, when it comes to like the whole gaming and business side of things, we talk to them about like ways that they can develop their brand, how they can make money, the way they can promote themselves and make themselves marketable for the industry. And it's easier said than done. Sometimes some kids are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. And that's fine. But, you just got to teach them, if we don't teach them, who will, right? They'll just continue doing the bad things that they do. And obviously that's not beneficial for anybody.
No, it's not. And especially, you brought up a good point. Like, you get into your VCs and you talk with your team members sometimes for hours. That's beautiful. That helps them build trust with you, and you build trust with them. Especially when you're picking up like a team that you don't know anything about. So that's a huge deal. Actually, we're going through that process right now. We actually had to cancel out contracts with the team because just things went wrong in the negotiations, and then they went from very, very happy to very toxic within literally like a blink of an eye. Because one thing we were like, well, we can't meet on this one point, but everything else is good, kind of thing, and then it just went to F-bombs and all that stuff, and I was just like, well, wow.
Yeah, no, I honestly, and this is why we, like I said, our philosophies are really based around like other CEOs in the industry. Immortal CEO Noah Winston is somebody that we really like his philosophy, and it's almost like we've adapted a lot of his philosophy with the way we want to push Third Sense with. It goes back to just sometimes some players don't even understand what a contract really is or what it means, right? And that's what we make sure that we explain to them, right? We like to bring our teams on as like a probation period. Obviously, they're under contract, but the contract is not, there's no figures thrown around. It's more or less you're agreeing to sign with us, and then at the end of the probation period, if we see that it's working out and we want something with you, then we'll sign you for the season or however more months you want, or tournaments, depending on whatever that you're looking to get. But obviously, just making sure that they understand contracts is something that we really push for. We get in a call with our players, explain the contract, make sure that they know if they have any questions, they talk to our lawyer. It's just always making sure that we're doing as much as we can to make sure that the players feel comfortable. Because like you said, there's people that disagree with contracts and they won't think twice. They'll just drop F-bombs and they'll be like, no, well, you guys are just assholes looking to fuck people over, and that's kind of what we do. We try to make sure that we stop that, right, from happening. We really make sure that they understand the essence of a contract, what it means, how things become legally binded. Really breaking it down. It sounds messed up, but breaking it down like these people have never seen one. Yeah. Because most of the times people sign contracts and don't even read through it. So we really like to make sure that they know what they're signing. And, if they don't agree with something, we can discuss it and our lawyer will be in there and we'll be able to understand why maybe things are worded a specific way, right? Because at the end of the day, things are worded very, very specific.
And sometimes business jargon.
Yeah. And sometimes, if you're a 15-year-old kid, and they use a word that you don't understand and you're like, well, what the fuck does that mean? I don't know, and you start freaking out. And that's where I think a lot of the issues commence when people just don't understand what they're reading. And unfortunately, that's what we do to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? Make sure that our players know what they're getting themselves into, know that the contracts are, for the most part, laid out to where it benefits them.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, we like to make sure that our players are satisfied with what they get, and know that they're here and they're not going to be undervalued, right?
Hmm.
Making sure that we provide what we think is fair, obviously, as long as they're happy with what we think is fair for them.
True. So what kind of advice would you give to a new and upcoming team looking for an org, or also, and then also a owner looking to just do well and expand?
So for the players, honestly, is just making sure that if you're young, you learn, right? Just not don't let your ego be the biggest thing in the world, that where somebody tries to tell you something as advice, or just maybe talk to you about something, that you take it the negative way. When I was younger, I realized that when I was playing, I always felt like I knew everything. Oh, I knew all the spots, I knew all the head glitches, I knew everything, right? And then I realized that no, I don't. That's so naive of me to think that I know everything about a specific game, or know everything about a business, or know everything about anything specific. Um, so just making sure that you're willing to learn and surround yourself with people and players that are better than you. Um, it's just making sure that you can become a well-rounded person overall is probably the biggest advice I can give to a player.
Hmm.
To help them grow as a person, but also help them become better as an individual, in a player. When it comes to owners, I think the biggest thing is, that's kind of like a broad question, right? But the biggest thing is to understand where you want to go with it, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes people don't take the time to understand, or even they don't even know what they want to do. They're
They don't
just
have
like,
a
I'm
they
just
don't have a
doing
business
this.
plan or anything like that.
Right. No, they're just there and they're just like, I'm going to start this, and then I don't know, if it works out, it works out, And that's the mistake that I did in the beginning of other organizations that I would like to start. It was more around, like, I was so young, I was so naive, I didn't understand what a business plan was, I didn't understand anything. I just thought it was like, just get a bunch of people and have them rep your stuff. And as a 15, 14-year-old kid, maybe that makes sense, right? But when
Hmm.
you get older, and you understand what you're actually doing, I look back now and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? This is completely trash. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, but that's
Um,
good that you could look back and realize that that's the difference in separation of what you know now.
yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, same thing with the owners. I would say surround yourself with a team, with what when we mean by team is like management and staff. They know more than you, or can help you learn. Also, just reach out to people, man. Honestly, sometimes I feel, and obviously this is kind of depending on the community. When you try to reach out to people, 9 times out of 10, probably they'll say no. But it only takes that one person to say yes for you to be able to
Absolutely.
open a whole can of knowledge and learn so much from that individual.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I like how you said, when you're picking your managers, pick people that are smarter than you. Because I've always lived by if you're the smartest person in the room and you want to learn something more, you need to surround yourself with smarter people. Like,
Yeah,
you always have to.
exactly,
You can't gain knowledge if you're the smartest person. So
exactly.
it's really good that you see that. And then I agree with like the players. Like, there is a lot of young players, and representing them, they have to be professional, but just be all well rounded. And it's hard to find that. Like I've said before, when I first started this game, Critical Ops, and this is before we did anything in this community. I was like, I don't care if they're the best player in this game. If they're toxic, I don't want them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's hard to find, like, there's some great players in all esports that I'm sure are very very good that teams don't want because of their background or their history and stuff. Is there like a filtering process that you go through when you're interviewing your players and stuff, potential players?
Yeah, no, yeah, we do a lot of vetting, and that's just across the board with our content team, with our CS:GO team, with our any team or member that we bring on. It's a vetting process, right? Sometimes you really can't know if they're going to be toxic off the start. Unfortunately, people just kind of change as time goes on, and then you start seeing their true colors. Um, so it's based around that vetting process of being on probation, making sure that nothing is is, this is somebody we can connect with and understand, and they can understand where we're coming from and agree with our philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's people that sometimes don't. There's been times where people don't agree with the way I think or whatever, and that's fine. That doesn't mean we can't work together. But sometimes I realize that just being the bigger person goes a long way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody says something inappropriate or whatever, just making sure that being the bigger person and understanding that they don't look at it the way you do, and that's just unfortunate, right? Even if it's a good idea or if it's a good proposal for a contract.
True. Very, very true. Very true. So I've asked all the questions that I like to usually ask. I've only done one other interview with an org owner.
Yeah.
Is there any other things you'd like to touch on? Maybe talk about your esportspedia or anything else that's exciting in the community that you know is going on. This would be the time to do that.
Yeah. So with eSports Video, honestly, it's a cool community. Like I said, I think if it wasn't for them and me discovering it, I probably wouldn't understand half the things I understand today. They did a great job with having a platform where you can just meet people and network your way up to people that know a lot and people. So with eSports Video, I think it's really cool that it's an open community. Anybody can really join and just talk to people. They have a Discord. But at the same time, I think just like anything else, in networking, you need to make sure that before you approach somebody or anything like that, you've done your homework, right? You've at least taken the first initial steps to understand what you're trying to learn more from.
Mm-hmm. Because then
So
it
that's
also
something.
shows them that you actually care about what they're doing already.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, just a little more advice for people looking to network or something like that. Don't if you're looking to network, that's great. But if you go up to somebody or message somebody on DMs or whatever, and you honestly just say, "Hey, I don't know about this. Just tell me," like they're not going to respond. They're like, what the fuck? Like, it's do your homework, understand that you don't know it, but at the same time, try to learn from what you don't know. Try to understand bits and pieces. So like that, whenever you get that, yes, let's talk. You can actually be like, well, this is what I know, right? This is what I know. This is what I've seen. Am I right? Am I wrong? Is this not the way it's supposed to be looked at?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when it comes to eSports Media, it's really cool. They have an open community. They're actually recruiting more contributors, people that just contribute to the wikis and to the social media accounts where you can, go and cover games and get all the information for the wikis so you can update them. But honestly, that's probably what I'd say. They're almost like hubs, right, where you can go and network your way up and to meet people and talk to people. So anybody that's inspired, trying to start up something cool, even if it's just technology and esports, or it doesn't have to be a specific organization, for that reason.
Oh, wow.
But I would say, there's a lot of people in these discords, in these communities where you can go out and reach out to these individuals. And I'm not lie, at first it's intimidating. But at the end of the day, once you've learned, like I said, you've done your homework, you've taken the time to try to learn something. At that point, if the individual sees that you've actually taken the time to try to understand something but don't know it, then at that point they're willing to actually explain to you more into detail or things that you've missed. And like I said, that's probably the best way overall, just networking and making sure that you can reach out to people that know more than you, because I think that's very, very true. In order for you to learn more, you need to surround yourself with people that have done it time after time and that are in a place where you want to be in the future. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thank you for being on our show. You guys can follow them on Twitter. It's at Third Sense GG, ThirdSensegg. Thanks for being on the show, Eddie, and I'd like to have you on again in the future. And make sure you guys check out his podcast. Tell everybody about your podcast.
All right, so yeah, our podcast it's very it's pretty cool. We like to do just traditional. We have our traditional podcast, and then we have like a special episode, just like you, where the traditional podcast we discuss more about like what's going on in the esports scene, like gaming. How these teams are doing in a specific esport and stuff like that. For our special episodes, we bring on people, highly knowledgeable people from the industries. Some that are esports owners or own something in esports, and we try to show the people who they actually are, understand how they built what they have, and how any advice that they can potentially give to aspiring people that are willing to do something like that in the esports industry.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I have. Once again, I'm D2R Legacy, and this was Eddie from Third Sets Gaming. Thanks everybody for watching, and peace.
Peace out.
All right.